Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, welcome back to the... Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, welcome back to the Scharf Show here on 99.1 FM, WIUX. It has been a great 2 weeks of sports. Obviously, last Tuesday, with elections and stuff, we did not have our regularly scheduled program. But, of course, that is okay, as voting is such an important thing in this country. So, make sure you get out and vote, or hopefully you did. But we're here to talk sports right now. It's been a great week, 2 weeks of sports, NFL games, NHL's picking up. Ooh, my Devils, are they hot? You got the MLB. We got a World Series winner while we were away in 6 games. We'll get to that later. But we'll start off with the NFL. And this past week of NFL, that's my New York Football Giants. They are 7-2 right now as they defeat the Houston Texans by a score of 24-16. And this was just a business as usual kind of thing for me as a Giants fan. I think for the Giants as well, this is a game that you have to have. I know your schedule is a bit soft, but this is probably the worst team in the league. They were sitting at 1-6-1. This is a team that, if you are going to be a playoff team, if you're going to make noise in the playoffs, you have to win this game at all costs. At all costs. So, and there were some ups and downs in this game. I'm not going to lie to you. This wasn't the easiest game for the New York Football Giants, but that's not how they play. I did not expect them to go out and win by 25 points. This is not a team that's going to blow their competition out of the water most of the time. Maybe a game or two they surprised me, but it's going to be a hard-fought battle where they can pull away at the end, maybe like they did in this game, but it's not going to be just so one-sided. No matter who they play, whether it be the Chiefs, the Eagles, the Ravens, or the Texans, or the Lions, which we have next week. So I don't see it like that, although there were some problems. We'll start with the offense. The offensive line was great. Saquon Barkley, again, he is the workhorse. He is the key. He is the backbone of this offense and will continue to be so. He got a career-high 35 carries for 152 yards, 4.3 yards per carry, with a touchdown on top. He continues to look great, continues to find those holes, continues to make big plays, long of 27 yards. Just keeps chugging along, doing his thing, keeping himself the focus point of this offense. And as long as Saquon plays like this, you're almost always going to have a chance in any football game this year. Daniel Jones only threw 17 passes, but was 13-17 for 197 yards, 2 touchdowns. He was very good. I have nothing to complain about Daniel Jones. In fact, he made a great throw on the Darius Slayton touchdown on his back foot. Pressure's coming. He has to get rid of it. It's a third down. Can't afford to take a sack here. Just finds Darius Slayton. Darius Slayton makes a man miss, and then the rest of the story as he takes it to the house for a 54-yard touchdown. And Darius Slayton has I would say not quietly in the Giants world, but quietly under the national media, has become such a vital part of this offense for the New York Giants. He, as you watched, Kenny Galladay got back, and he dropped 2 passes. He is terrible. He is a bum. Get that dude out of my sight, because Darius Slayton has become the guy, not Kenny Galladay. It's Darius Slayton who opens up the offense a bit, so you're not always stacking 8, 7, 9 guys in the box against Saquon. You have to respect Darius Slayton and what he can do. You have to respect his speed. You have to respect what he can do as a wide receiver. And you're hoping that Wan'Dale Robinson can come into that, and maybe if you can sign OBJ somehow, that would complete a pretty good, decent wide receiver room. But right now, what's keeping this offense alive, obviously Saquon is your backbone, but they would just swarm him if it was not for Darius Slayton. He keeps this offense alive. He keeps defenses on their toes and allows them not to just gang all up against the run against Saquon. And he's become such a huge part of this team week after week after week. And he did that this past week with 3 receptions for 95 yards. As we said, the 54-yard touchdown, which was huge, absolutely huge in that third quarter. Then we move on to the defense, and we talked about Saquon Barkley being the backbone of this offense. Well, it is clear what the backbone of this defense is, and that is Leonard Williams, Dexter Lawrence. The interior defensive line of this Giants team continues to dominate. Just dominate. At the line of scrimmage, getting to the quarterback, causing pressures. They've been phenomenal. Leonard Williams with 5 solo tackles, 9 total tackles, a half a sack, and a QB hit. Dexter Lawrence, where are you, buddy? Sexy Dexy. 5 total tackles, 1 solo tackle, a sack, a tackle for loss, a pass defended, or I think that's pass defended, and then 5 QB hits from Dexter Lawrence from your D tackle. 5 QB hits. What else could you say from this interior? They continue to be the biggest reason why this defense is a success. I mean, I know you want to get outside pressure, and Thibodeau looked pretty solid today. He didn't end up with any sacks, but 4 tackles, 2 solos, and he's causing some havoc out there. You know, O'Shane Simonez had a pass defense, had a QB hit. You're hoping he can get going again, and you're hoping Ozeejo Ojulari can get back healthy. But the reason why this defense is what it is because of this interior line. Both these guys are playing at a Pro Bowl level. You can argue Dexter Lawrence is playing at an all-pro level, and it just causes pressure up the middle is not something QBs always see. It's usually pressure out wide from guys like Von Miller, from guys like Matt Judon, from guys like Josh Allen, from Brian Burns, these pass rushers. There's only a few really D tackles who can get after it through the middle. Aaron Donald, Vita Vea, Quentin Williams. There's a few guys that will cause havoc in the middle. And it's a different type of pressure that QBs are usually not accustomed to seeing. And that's what the Giants bring right now. It's pressure up the middle. And QBs aren't ready for it, and it helps stop against the run, and it causes QBs a big problem. And as they continue to play like this, it's going to continue to cause havoc for any quarterback they play. Any of them. Because they have been absolutely dominant. Back end, Dory Jackson continues to play well. Our linebacking core was okay. Only hiccup I thought for the defense was we scored that touchdown. I think it's with Darius Slayton. I think it's a Slayton touchdown. And Texans get the ball back, and they just march down the field and score. That was a little worrying just to see how quickly they marched down the field just to respond to the touchdown we scored. But otherwise, besides that drive, I thought the defense played great. A couple forced fumbles in there as well. You had the one on Dameon Pierce, which saved probably a score, whether it be a field goal or a touchdown, recovered by Jalen Smith, which was a great play. Overall, just another day in the office, in my opinion, for the Giants. You got the Lions coming up next week. They gotta get the job done before, as you know, Dallas lost, the Philly lost. You have an opportunity. You have an opportunity to get a team like Detroit right before you play Dallas. Gotta take care of business. Moving on, we had the best probably game of the year so far between the Minnesota Vikings and the Buffalo Bills. And the Vikings, well, they stunned the Buffalo Bills in overtime, 33-30. This game was crazy. This game was wild. My jaw was on the ground for the entire fourth quarter and overtime because this game was insane, people. It was insane. If you didn't watch it, I beg you, go watch the highlights of this game. You will not regret it. This game was action-packed, jaw-dropping moments, crazy catches, crazy defensive plays, and a wild outcome for the Vikings to end up on top in overtime. A couple takeaways from here. The wide receiver, Justin Jefferson. Oh, my God. Oh, my God. I think there are a couple receivers, and Stephon Diggs, oh, my God, as well. Both of them had a wild catch to try to set their team up for success. Stephon Diggs had it first right over the middle, just boop, one-hand catch, bring that down. How do you do? And that helped set the Bills up for it looked like it was going to be a win. And then in like 4th and 15, Vikings need this one to win the game or to at least stay in the game. Cousins throws it up to Jefferson, and he just reaches back with like two defenders on him. One of the defenders kind of keeps the ball, because he's trying to catch it, kind of holds the ball a bit, which allows Jefferson to kind of catch it with one hand as well. But Jefferson, one of the greatest catches I've ever seen. Probably a top 5 to 10 catch all time. That catch was insane, and ultimately let's set up for a wild ending where the Vikings, they have a 4th and goal on the 1. They QB sneak. They don't get it, but then Josh Allen fumbles it. When they get the ball back, the Vikings score a touchdown to go up 3. Josh Allen leads them back down the field for the field goal for overtime. Vikings score a field goal in overtime. And then Josh Allen leads them down the field in overtime to go for the win, but it's picked off by Patrick Peterson, and the Vikings win it. Just such a crazy game. But again, as I was saying about these wide receivers, they are animals. Justin Jefferson ended with 193 yards on 10 catches. Diggs, 128 yards on 12 catches. Just, these wide receivers are crazy. And I think if you said Justin Jefferson is the best wide receiver in the game, I would not question you. I would not disagree with you. I would not say you're wrong. I think there are 4 receivers. I think there's 5 in the same tier, of that tier 1 kind of category. And there's a couple that kind of go back and forth. But I think there's 4 wide receivers that you can argue are the best wide receiver in the NFL. Justin Jefferson is one of them. The guy on the other side, Stephon Diggs, is another. Then you got Cooper Kupp, and he is a phenomenal. You can argue he is the best wide receiver in football. Just an animal. He got hurt. Hopefully he recovers. And then you got Tyreek Hill. What he's doing, he's looking like he could be the offensive player of the year this year so far. He is an animal, proving himself. He does not need Patrick Mahomes to be the stud that he is. And I think those wide receivers are kind of in there. Just all of them are absolute studs. Could be considered best wide receiver in the NFL. I think you can have Jamar Chase in that category. I think some of the things you would argue for Jamar Chase, though, you could argue for other guys as well. So I think he's in that category, but I just don't think he's number 1. And then you got guys like DeAndre Hopkins and Devontae Adams, which you could put in there if you wanted to, but maybe they're in the tier 2 by themselves. Not like tier 2, maybe like 1B tier, because they're also animals. But man, oh man, there's the wide receivers in the NFL. There are so many good ones, and these guys just do it day in, day out, and they're just absolute animals and great to watch. From the Minnesota side, though, as a whole, this just proves how real this Minnesota team is. They can play with anybody. Kirk Cousins has looked great so far this year. Didn't have the greatest game from stats-wise, but when he needed to, he brought his team down, and they won the game. He got a little help, but ultimately he had a decent game. Overall, Dalvin Cook continues to get better and better each week. He had 119 yards on 14 carries with a touchdown. And this defense is very good. Zadarius Smith continues to be maybe one of the best pickups in free agency this past year. The Packers are definitely kicking themselves on that. Patrick Peterson had another great game. He ended up with, how many picks did Pat Peterson end up with? 2. He ended up with both interceptions. I wasn't sure if he had both or just one of them. Pat Peterson had both interceptions, the veteran. And this Vikings team, I think, could end up with the number 1 seed in the NFL, in the NFC, in the NFC, with the Eagles losing, and I don't know how. They got a bunch of division games coming up, and the NFC East looks a little better than the NFC North. So, this Vikings team is dangerous, and they are a team that could definitely contend for a Super Bowl right now. From the perspective of the Bills, I'm not too worried. Again, I'm not too worried on the Bills. I know they're sitting at 6-3, probably not where they want to be, and probably not what you would expect. But this is too talented of a team. You know how good they are. You know they're going to bounce back. I'm confident they'll win the division. I'm confident they'll be a top 2 to 3 seed in the AFC. Now, I will say, if you're going to be worried about anything, it's a bit Josh Allen, which is crazy enough. He continues to turn the ball over in the fourth quarter or late in games, overtime. He continues to have those costly turnovers the past couple games. And that is something I'd keep an eye on. I'm not worried about, but it's something I'd keep an eye on, as I think Josh Allen, obviously, top 2, 3 talented quarterback in the league with Mahomes, Lamar, him, I'd say, probably top 3 talented quarterback in the league. One of the best players in the league. He's just an absolute animal. You got to watch him in the bounce back. I think he will. I just think he cleans up his act, just tries to play a little smarter. But that is something that could bite you if you're Buffalo. Him trying to force too much, trying to be the hero too much in the fourth quarter. That is something that you have to make sure that you bite in the butt as quickly as possible if you're Buffalo. Then moving on to the final game we'll talk about all of this past week. That's the Cowboys and the Packers. Packers, they keep their season alive at 4-6. They beat the Cowboys in overtime 31-28. And obviously, I think the biggest takeaway is, besides the Packers saving their season, really, is Christian Watson, rookie wide receiver. Goes for 4 catches, 107 yards for 3 touchdowns, 2 bombs for him to score his first 2 touchdowns, one of the longest one being for 58 yards. And if this is the breakout of Christian Watson, this could change the Packers' season, as this is what they were looking for. Another receiver that can go with Allen Lazard, make plays, and really be a guy that Aaron Rodgers can trust. Now, he did have a couple drops early in the game. That didn't seem to affect him, though. Rodgers kept going to him. He made the plays, and his confidence right now definitely is at an all-time high. This is a guy who's ultra-talented, can make routes, is super fast, and can really get over the top of defenders. So if this is a guy who can continue to play like this, it is going to dramatically improve this Packers offense. It's going to give Rodgers that guy that he's been looking for. Rodgers also had a nice day, 14-20, 224 yards and 3 touchdowns, no picks. And overall, if that is the thing, maybe the Packers make a run here. This is a team that's going to be run first. Aaron Jones, 24 carries, 138 yards and a touchdown. He continues to be a beast. A.J. Dillon, 13 carries, 65 yards. This is a team that's going to have to be run first. But when your second option is going to be the pass with Aaron Rodgers, if you just have guys get open, he's going to make you pay. I promise you he's going to make you pay. You saw that today. Defense on the other side of the Packers played well, played better. I thought Jair Alexander had a good day. Again, they saved their season. Is it going to be a tough road? They got to play Tennessee on Thursday. It's going to be tough. It is going to be tough to save their season. They're at 4-6, but they can do it. They can still do it. On the Cowboys' perspective, it's kind of weird. They kind of blow a 14-point lead. And if I'm worried about anything, it's 2 things. It's been exposed how to beat this Packers team. It's by the run, which worked to Green Bay because that's how they win, it looks like. He's running the ball. If you run the ball successfully against Dallas, you could win this game. That's their weakness, running the ball. So they have to try to fix that. And then Dak Prescott, man, I don't know what's going on with him lately. I was never as high on Dak Prescott as other people were, but I always thought of him as the top 12 quarterback in this league. I thought of him as maybe, he's never elite to me, but I thought he was a very good quarterback, and he's playing like an average quarterback right now. He went 27-46, 265 yards, 3 touchdowns, and 2 picks. He just doesn't seem to be on the right page with the other guys. I don't know if it's the right game plan they're not running, if he's just seeing different things. I don't know. But people complaining that he doesn't have enough weapons, I really don't want to hear it. I don't want to hear it about Dak Prescott. He's had some of the best weapons and best pieces around him early in his career, with the Cowboys' offensive line being the best in football at those times early in his career. Having Zeke Elliott when he was a monster, having Amari Cooper and CeeDee Lamb and Cedric Wilson and other dudes who really could step up and be big players in this offense. Michael Gallup, when he was healthy, and he was a lot better than he was now. Now that he just has CeeDee Lamb, and the offensive line is still solid, maybe not elite, but still very good. Zeke not being at his best, but still have Tony Pollard. Oh, he doesn't have enough. I don't want to hear that. There's a lot worse situations he could be in, and for the situation that he is in, he needs to play better, and the Cowboys need to play better. They have a huge game coming up against the Vikings. We'll talk about that in a bit. But I'm a little nervous if I'm a Cowboys fan, because the recipe has been showed on how to beat the Cowboys. And if they don't change the way, or they don't go back to the way they were playing with Cooper Rush, it could be a problem. I still think they'll make the playoffs, but they could fall a couple seeds. All right, when we come back, we'll talk about my picks for this next coming week of the NFL. Who's going to win? Who's my lock of the week? Who is my upset pick of the week for Week 11 of the NFL? We'll come back to you right after this break on 99.1 FM, WIUX. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, welcome back to the Scharf Show here on 99.1 FM, WIUX. And my picks for Week 11, well, they're right here. They are right now. We'll start off with Thursday Night Football. That'll be the Tennessee Titans traveling to Wisconsin and to play the Cheeseheads in Aaron Rodgers and the Green Bay Packers. Green Bay is 3.5-point favorites, and while I like Green Bay turning this around, I think Green Bay could definitely win this game. The value for the Tennessee Titans, is too high, especially for my upset pick. That is the one I'm going to take. So give me Tennessee to go to the road and really put a struggle on the Packers and Aaron Rodgers making this postseason run from now on. So I'll take the Titans here at 3.5-point underdogs. That is my upset pick of the week. Then we move on. We got the Philadelphia Eagles trying to bounce back off their first loss of the season. They're coming here to the Horseshoe, to this state of Indiana where I am currently, to play the Jeff Saturday Colts. Colts are 6.5-point underdogs. I think Philly bounces back here. I think the Colts play them hard. I think it'll be a tough-fought battle. Jeff Saturday will have these guys going. I think they like listening to him. But ultimately, I think the Eagles are just a more talented team. I think losing is going to bring some momentum to them. And ultimately, going to have Philly going to Indiana and taking this one against the Colts. Then we got the Cleveland Browns. They're going up north to North New York. They're going to upstate New York. North New York. Upstate New York. To play the Buffalo Bills. The Bills are 8.5-point underdogs. And give me the Bills here. I know just Deshaun Watson is starting practice this week, but he is not playing. He's still got a couple more weeks of suspension. And I think Buffalo's really going to bounce back. I think Josh Allen throws for 4 touchdowns at least, or 3 to 4 touchdowns, throws for 400 yards. I think he goes off this week as he bounces back and gets a much-needed win for the Buffalo Bills. Then we got the Detroit Lions. They're going to MetLife to play the New York Football Giants. Giants are 3-point favorites in this game. Give me the Giants here to take care of business at home against the Lions. I just don't think the Lions match up. I just don't think the Lions are as talented enough. I think they got a nice win against Chicago last week, but I don't see this rolling too far. I think the Giants are just a better team, and 3 points is nothing really for me. Give me the Giants. Then we got the Chicago Bears coming off, like I said, that loss against Detroit. They're traveling down south to play the Falcons of Atlanta. Marcus Mariota-led Falcons. Falcons are 3-point favorites. Falcons are 3-point favorites. Give me Atlanta at home to take care of business. They are in still a playoff fight to win that division. I think that gives them a little extra motivation. Plus, being at home, I like them taking care of business against Chicago. Although Justin Fields running candidate, who is going to be dangerous, they're going to have to try to contain him. Then we got the Washington Commanders coming off a huge Monday night win against the Eagles. They're traveling to the Lone Star State to play the Texans. Texans are 3.5-point underdogs. And this is probably my hottest take. I'm taking the Texans here at 3.5-point underdogs. This technically could be my upset pick of the week, but I am not as confident about this pick as I am about the Tennessee pick. I feel like Washington is a team that's going to play to whoever they're playing against. So they played up to the standard against the Eagles, as the Eagles, if they needed to play that way to win the game. Texans, I feel like they're going to play down. I feel like this is a team that is probably going to get a bit overhyped after that win against the Eagles. And I think the Texans, who are just a team that's just kind of trying to get a win, not a good team, but they Dameon Pierce runs hard, Davis Mills works hard. It's a team that it's not going to be a pushover team. They come in, they defend their home field advantage. They defend their stadium, and they get a win here. I think this is going to be similar to the Chicago game last week, a disappointing loss to the Lions. I think it's going to be like a similar outcome to that game. Then we got the New York Jets going to their division rival to play Bill Belichick and the New England Patriots. Both teams had a bye last week, so both teams had 2 weeks to prepare for that. Patriots are 3-point favorites, and with 2 weeks to prepare for a team, give me Bill Belichick and give me the Patriots. They really dominated the Jets last time at MetLife, and 2 weeks to prepare for them again. I'm not going to bet against Bill Belichick against that. Give me the Patriots -3 at home. I would bet them with the line as well. Then we got the Los Angeles Rams. I don't know if Matt Stafford's going to play, but I do know Cooper Kupp is out at least 4 weeks. Brutal for the Rams. They're going to travel down south to Louisiana to play the New Orleans Saints. The Saints are 4-point favorites, and I don't know about Matt Stafford. No Cooper Kupp. Crazy enough, give me the Saints here to win this game. I am not confident about that. I think if Stafford and Kupp played, I would be all in on the Rams, but they are not. I did not like what I saw from the Rams this past week against a backup team-led Cardinals as well with Colt McCoy in. I like New Orleans to win this game here. Then we move on to the Las Vegas Raiders. They're going to play their division rival Russell Wilson Broncos country in Denver. Denver 2.5-point favorites, and I like Denver here to win this game. The Raiders, I just have no trust in this team. It's not like I have more trust in Denver, but I have a little more trust in Denver, and especially their defense. I think their defense is the best unit of all 4 units. I think Russell Wilson will get it done when he needs to, and ultimately, I have the Broncos winning this game. Then we have arguably, you could consider the biggest game of the week. We have the Dallas Cowboys going up north to play Kirk Cousins and the Minnesota Vikings. The Vikings are 1-point underdogs. I'm going to take the Vikings here. I think the Packers showed a blueprint of how to beat the Packers showed a blueprint on how to beat the Cowboys. And I think with Dalvin Cook, they're going to use that running game to perfection. I don't think Diggs is going to be able to keep up with Justin Jefferson. They'll use him over the top. They'll have still Hawkinson and Thielen. And I think that Minnesota wins this game and works their way towards getting that number 1 seed in the NFC. Then we got the Cincinnati Bengals. They're going to play their division rivals in Pennsylvania. They're going to play the Pittsburgh Steelers. Pittsburgh is 5-point underdogs at home. I like Cincinnati to win this game. I still don't like this Pittsburgh team. I think they're a little better with TJ Watt now back on defense. That makes that defensive unit a lot scarier, I will say. But still not confident in this offense. No Claypool, still have Deontay Johnson, but Kenny Pickett not a real believer in yet. It would take a lot for me to believe in him pretty quickly. So give me Cincy here to win this game on the road. And we got the Kansas City Chiefs. They're playing their division rival, the Los Angeles Chargers. In Los Angeles, Chargers 6.5-point underdogs here in this divisional battle. And give me the Chiefs. I don't know if Mike Williams is going to play. I don't know if Keenan Allen is going to play. Even if they do, I still think the Chiefs are the better team. They're not as injured. They have the better players, I think, with Mahomes. Led offense, at least. I like the Chiefs here. I think the Chiefs are going to win the AFC in general, so I do think they win this game. And then Monday night, we got the San Francisco 49ers. They're going to Arizona to play the Arizona Cardinals. The Cardinals are 8-point underdogs. And this is my lock of the week. This is the Niners. I have them winning against the Cardinals. I don't know if Kyler's going to play. You got Warzone for Call of Duty 2 coming out, or Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2 coming out. He might be stuck on that video game all week. So even if he does play, I don't know. The Niners, I tell you, I don't like Jimmy G, but the rest of this team could arguably be the best support cast for a QB in the NFL, including O-line, skill players, and defense. I think they run away with this game pretty much by far. I like the Niners here on the road. It's my luck of the week. Going over our picks, we got Philly the Bills, Baltimore, the Giants, Atlanta, Houston, the Patriots, the Saints, the Broncos, the Vikings, the Bengals, the Chiefs. Then we got the Niners as our lock of the week. And Thursday night, we got the Tennessee Titans as our upset pick of the week in Green Bay. When we come back, we'll have some MLB to talk to about who won the World Series, my reaction, and some breaking news on free agency just coming up on my desk right about now. We'll get to it all after this break on 99.1 FM WIUX. All right, welcome back here to the Scharf Show on 99.1 FM WIUX. And we have a World Series team. It's been a little while since this has happened. It's been almost 2 weeks, but we haven't been on the air in almost 2 weeks. 2 weeks, so, you know, we got to let the people what they want to know, what they want to hear. And the Houston Astros, they end up winning the World Series in 6 games. Jeremy Pena is your MVP. And in my opinion, this was just, it was due. The Houston Astros looked like the best team throughout the playoffs. I know a lot of people thought this Phillies team was a fun team, and they were definitely cool to watch. But the Houston Astros were just so much, they looked so much better than every other team. They dominated each and every series. You know, if they didn't get pitching one night, their hitting would make up for it. If they didn't get the hitting, their pitching was shut down. If they got both, you stood no chance. No chance. This team was a wagon and a half. And I told you in the beginning of the postseason that if the Mets didn't win it, I liked the Astros and I liked them a lot to win this World Series. And I was right. I was right. What can I say? But the reason for this, I mean, they have a no-hitter from, Luis Garcia. Framber Valdez was awesome. Verlander finally got a win in the World Series, you know. Bregman was great as he was my, and Moonshots and Meatballs, he was my World Series MVP prediction to win it all as the MVP. He was great. Kyle Tucker stepped back up in the World Series. You know, Yordan Alvarez had that big home run in Game 6, which he absolutely teared the bejesus off that ball. You had Altuve, who was great. And this Phillies team fought. Like, Game 1, down 5, they come back and win. But ultimately, from the Phillies' perspective, I just didn't think it was going to last. I didn't think Reese was going to continue to hit the way he was early in the postseason. I didn't think Bohm was going to be able to do that. I thought JT could, and he's proven that he is still the best catcher in baseball. Had a slow start to the season this year, but he still wears that title of best catcher in baseball. Adley Rutschman's coming. Other guys are coming. But he still holds on to that reign for now. Bryce Harper was absolutely phenomenal. This guy's unreal. I thought he could still smash baseball as he did. Kyle Schwarber still did his thing. But the other guys, like Brandon Marsh, didn't expect him to continue to hit. I didn't expect Gene to be as clutch as he was in the first couple series. So these guys, all of them who were coming up big, Castellanos, who were all coming up big earlier in the playoffs, I didn't expect that to continue. It didn't. And ultimately, the Astros end up winning in 6 games. Really solidifies them as one of the best organizations in baseball right now as they continue to have sustained success. And now with their second World Series in this kind of era, this dynasty that they're in. And what really does, it solidifies that, hey, they don't need to cheat to win. That it wasn't a fluke that they won in 2017. This team is just that talented. They are that good, and they're that dangerous when they come to the plate and when they're up on the mound when you're playing against this Houston Astros baseball team. Now, moving on, free agency started last week. The first domino to fall off that was New York Mets Timmy Trumpets Edwin Diaz. He signed a 5-year, $102 million deal to stay with the Mets. And I honestly, I have no problems with this deal. I think you had to keep Diaz as a New York Metropolitans if you are Steve Cohen, if you are Billy Epler, if you're the New York Mets. You had to keep him. Is it a little bit of an overpay? Possibly. Do relievers sometimes their careers are not as lengthy as you would think? Yeah. 5 years is a lot. I'm not going to lie to you. I prefer 4. I prefer a 4-year deal, but 5 years, if you can get 3 stud years out of this, it's worth it. It's worth it. And I know it's a lot of money. But if Steve Cohen's going to continue to open the checkbook like he does, it's worth it to keep arguably the best reliever in baseball and hopefully get at least, you're hoping for at least 3 to 4 stud years out of him. And then, I mean, obviously you want all 5, but then it proves the contract was way worth it. And I'm okay with giving that amount of money to Diaz. He was so dominant this year, and I think he can continue that because it wasn't just the way his numbers were, but how he did. It wasn't what his numbers were, but how he got to those numbers. He was just so dominant, striking people out with the fastball that was go blow by you, with the slider that would bring you to a buckle with your knees. He was just an animal. So I'm okay with this. I think you had to keep him in order to really keep that bullpen competitive. So, big contract, but ultimately I think it was worth it. And I was talking about breaking news as I'm currently on my cell phone right now, because some bombs have dropped recently. So, qualifying offer, we have one that has accepted, and that is Jock Peterson. He's going to stay with the San Francisco Giants. He has accepted his qualifying offer, and I think that's pretty big for at least the Giants. As this was a guy who probably was going to be pretty sought after as a DH, a left-handed bat, and I know a team that wants to compete still, wants to still be in that mix, is going to be after free agents. This is kind of a signing that might go under the radar for them for a little bit when they sign the big pieces, who could be a decent bat for them. And I thought maybe could be a good, decent lefty bat for the Mets or for another team that wants to contend. This was a guy that they could have wanted, and this is pretty good for the Giants that he accepts the qualifying offer. The other guy who took the qualifying offer was Martin Perez with the Texans. He was talking also with the Angels. We'll get to the Angels in a second. But he ends up staying in Texas. He had a phenomenal year this year. I don't know if he'll have that same type of year again, but I mean, when you get that type of year, you're okay with giving a guy that kind of qualifying offer, kind of say, hey, let's see if you can do it again before I give you that long-term deal. But the first 2 dominoes of actual free agency fall. First one being Tyler Anderson, the former Dodger pitcher, now travels across town, stays in LA, but is now with the Angels. He signs a deal around 3 years, $40 million, according to Joel Sherman. And let's see how he does. He had a phenomenal year with the Dodgers. I don't know if he's going to have that type of numbers, but you gotta hope he has a very good year. If the Angels want to keep Shohei, if they want to keep Trout happy, they got to be competitive now. They got to go and buy in. And pitching has always been their Achilles heel. So I like this deal for the Angels. 40 mil around 3 years is an AAV probably around 13 to 15 mil. If it's 40 exactly, it's 13.33 mil per year. I like that deal. I think that's a solid deal for Tyler Anderson. I think that's a solid deal for the Angels. We'll see if it works out. But ultimately, they need to improve their pitching if they want to keep those 2 big guys in Shohei and Trout happy. And at least for Shohei, try to re-sign him as he's going to be a free agent. That's a big deal. And then the New York Yankees, they re-signed their first baseman, Anthony Rizzo, to a 2-year, $17 million per year deal. $40 million guaranteed, about $40 million guaranteed with a $6 million buyout as well. I think this was, besides Judge, this was the most important piece to the Yankees to bring back. He was the number 1 target for the Astros, apparently. That would have been a brutal loss for the Yankees. That is a huge piece because Anthony Rizzo, just the way he swings, I'm not saying he looks great in the Yankee uniform. He could or could not. But he was destined to play in Yankee Stadium with the way he swings, with that short porch, with his left-handed swing. It fits perfectly. He was great in a Yankees uniform. He takes advantage of that short porch with his left-handed swing. And he just feels like a Yankee. And that was a guy that was a big piece of their team that I think they needed to re-sign, especially if they don't get Judge. So I think that was a big thing for the Yankees. And now the first 2 dominoes, they have fallen. And hold on, we'll take one more look, see if anybody has signed any more. Any others? Nope, doesn't look like it. But first two dominoes have officially fallen. We'll quickly move on now to the NHL, as we only got a couple minutes here left in this show. And we want to talk about the hottest team in the NHL. Well, that happens to be my New Jersey Devils, baby. They have won 9 in a row. They are going for 10 tonight as they are playing Montreal in Canada, the Canadiens. And Cole Caulfield going up against his former buddy Jack Hughes. Big game for them tonight, but this Devils team, boy oh boy, has it been their year. They have finally become the team that we knew they could come. They've finally broken out. They're finally taking that next step into being competitive. Not just competitive, but a contender maybe. This team has been everything. They've been a analytical darling this year for the analytical community in the NHL. And they've just done everything so well. They are getting, their decor has been fantastic. That John Marino trade has been awesome for Ty Smith. John Marino has been putting up some points which you weren't expecting. He has 7 points in 15 games, but he is great in transition, great moving the puck, great defensively. He's been a tank on that decor. Dougie Hamilton has looked like he's gotten back to his Carolina ways. He has 12 points in 15 games. Damon Severson has been his usual self, except not really with the mistakes. He's just had the good part of Davis, not the bad. Ryan Graves has continued to do well. Jonas Siegenthaler has been great, been still very good defensively. Has 5 points already, and he's been great. And you've been getting it all over the lineup. Jesper Bratt, 19 points in 15 games. He's been an animal, an absolute animal. Nico Hischier, one of the most, I always talked about it last year, one of the most underrated players in the NHL. 17 points, 8 goals, 9 assists in 14 games. This dude has been an animal. His shot has really come alive this year. He's been finding ways to put the puck in the net. He's been involved so much in not just scoring points, but scoring big points. Getting big goals when we needed him to. When we needed somebody to step up, it's been Nico Hischier, the captain. And this guy, I think, is still a future Selke winner. I thought at least he could be a 70-point person. It looks like he could be an 80 to 90-point guy, the way he's playing. And it's such a huge step from what you thought Nico Hischier could be. Huge. Absolutely huge. He steps in. Just those steps take this team to a whole nother level. Because Jack Hughes still doing his thing. He has 15 points in 15 games. Thomas Tatar has been an absolute revelation. I didn't know if he was going to make the team this year. He has 3 goals, 8 assists for 11 points. And you can go down the list. The BMW fourth line of Wood, Bastion, and McLeod has been fantastic. Wood with 9 points, 6 goals. McLeod with 7 points. Bastion with 7 points. This team has been an absolute wagon this year. And I don't think it's going to stop. The biggest question coming into this year was the goaltending. Vitek Vanacek got hurt a bit, but he's coming back today. He's been fantastic. Blackwood got hurt, but he's starting to play better. Hopefully he comes back soon. And Akira Schmid, he was great in the 2 games he played. He comes in off the bench for Vanacek, makes a couple huge saves against the Senators, and helps them to secure an overtime win to keep the streak rolling. And then against the Coyotes, has his first full win as he plays a full game and gets that win there for the Devils. He's sitting at a .920 save percentage. He had a great 2 games, or 1.5 games if you want to call it. He was phenomenal. Absolutely phenomenal. And I don't think this is a fluke. This Devils team is going to continue to roll. Hopefully they get the 10 wins in a row tonight. This is a team that's dangerous. Their offense is very good with those first 3 with Jack, Nico, and Jesper Bratt. Their defense are a bunch of studs now. And as long as they get at least adequate going, I think this is a playoff lock. And I think you can see them doing some damage in the playoffs. The other big team in the NHL, they had won 9 in a row before they lost to the Blues. That's the Vegas Golden Knights out in the Western Conference. This team has been an animal, and what's really been this team is Jack Eichel. 19 points in 16 games, 9 goals, 10 assists, and he has really come back into that Buffalo form. People wrote him off after they made the trade last year. Didn't look great in his first year, or first half a season, or whatever you want to call it, in Vegas. And now he's looking like his old self and really putting this Vegas team back on the map, back where they belong. And they're getting other play. Obviously, Chandler Stevenson, 16 points in 16 games. That's phenomenal. I don't know if that lasts. But Riley Smith, 13 points in 16 games. A great veteran who is really good, who could probably keep a similar pace, maybe not that. But Petrangelo's been great. And they've been getting, which was a problem last year, they're getting very good goaltending from Logan Thompson, 8-2 in 10 games with a .925 save percentage. You know, Robin Leonard was not great for them. That was a big weakness. Now they're getting the goaltending. Jack Eichel looks like he's supposed to. And this is a team that's definitely, I think, going to make the playoffs and be a dangerous team again. I think that 1 year last year was a fluke for them. That'll do it for this show, this episode of the Scharf Show. Thank you guys so much for listening. Thank you so much for watching if you're watching this on YouTube afterwards. I hope you guys have a great sports week. This was a great past sports week. We got NFL coming up again. We got NHL, MLB, free agency seems to be kicking into high gear. And the NBA, of course, I didn't forget about you. College basketball just started. College football is still in high gear. It's great to be a football fan. There will be no show next week as it is Thanksgiving week, so we'll be back in 2 weeks. We'll have a lot to talk about back when we get back. So thank you guys so much for watching. This has been the Scharf Show on 99.1 FM WIUX. I will see you on the other side.